hear me now? Okay. Welcome to the Taming the Family's Class 4 Add Photo or Story. Class 3, which was held 2 weeks ago, covered family tree data entry standards for entering a name, date, and location. The standards that we use in Family Tree are there to help us avoid and locate possible duplicate people in the database. We also learned how to add a spouse, a marriage, and a child to an existing person. Tonight in this class, Class 4, we're going to learn how to add a cameo portrait to a person page. That's that little round portrait that you see at the top of a person page that you've always admired and wish you knew how to do. We're also going to learn how to add a group portrait and link it to the multiple people pages. And we're going to see how you add a story or a life sketch to a person page. Doing these things will bring your person pages to life, and it will help to preserve your memories of the people you knew and loved, as well as their historic photographs for next generations. It has an additional purpose. It helps other people identify the beautiful portraits they've got in a shoebox in the closet that they don't know who those people are. The first step in adding a photograph to a person page in Family Tree is to create a digital photograph from the printed photograph you may already have. And so as an overview of the process we're going to complete, we're going to learn that you need to prepare your photograph digitally to be added to a computer like FamilySearch or a storage, portable storage device like a flash drive that you possess. And of course know how to find it again, which is essential if you're going to quickly use this process. And then in step 1, we're going to add that digital photo to Family Tree from a person page. In step 2, we're going to add a title and description to the photo. Step 3, we're going to frame that person's face in the photo and name the person. And then in step 4, if it's a group photo, so there are many people involved, we're going to repeat steps 3 and 4 for each of them. So there's really only 3 steps in the process of actually adding the photo to Family Tree. We're not going to practice digitizing an historic photo tonight. Instead, I want to just give those of you who haven't had the opportunity to become experienced with this process a little bit of background information so you'll be more comfortable using this. We create a digital, which is an electronic copy of a printed photograph on a machine that looks like a printer or small photocopier. Some people like to even take a picture of their printed photograph using their cell phone. I don't personally find that very acceptable because I don't want to diminish the quality of the photograph in any way. But some people who are good at it do have success with it, so you might try it and see if it works for you. If you have a multi-function printer at home, it probably can print, copy, fax, and scan, and the scanning function is what permits you to save a digital copy of any photograph that will fit on the scanner glass. With a scanner, the copy you get is electronic instead of a printed piece of paper, just as if you took it on a cell phone or with a digital camera. You tell the scanner where to store it on your computer or storage device, and you have the additional ability to crop the electronic photograph, thus enlarging or improving it without harming your original picture. I think I'll just get rid of this. That wasn't the right thing to do. I was hoping I could get rid of that, but apparently I cannot. Yeah, that will work. Okay. You can also probably scan your photographs at your local LDS Family History Center, a Walmart or Rite Aid, your community library, or an office supply store or copy center in your community. Okay, we've done the preparation. Let's assume that we've got our photograph in digital format and it's on our computer, stored on our computer. But let's talk about the situation where you find a photograph online and you want a copy of it for yourself. You want to save it to your computer or a flash drive. This is a photograph I found yesterday online in Ancestry. And the process I followed was to use my right mouse button and click somewhere in the photo one time. That displays a little drop-down menu, and using your left mouse button, you then click Save Image As. Tell your computer where to store the image by choosing the location, perhaps a folder in your Pictures file. That's where I keep mine because I have thousands of photographs and I have to organize them by family groups, or a flash drive. In the cell that asks you what you're going to call it, add a brief title for the photo so that you later can remember who those people are, and click the Save button. In step 5, you always want to keep track of where you got that photograph. Remember, we're talking about a photograph that you've just gotten online. Ideally, you will not only save it to your computer where you will keep your historic photographs, but you will also immediately put it on FamilySearch where you can credit your source. There is nothing more offensive to a person who has gone to the trouble to digitize their photographs and share them online than to have other people borrow, or what you might call steal them, without even acknowledging where they got them. And so you want to be sure not to ruffle any feathers by adding a message such as photos shared and identified by the username on such and such date in this case Ancestry, in the such and such family tree. Thank you. I'm going to show you this, so don't be too mesmerized by this slide. It's okay. In Family Tree, find and record the name and ID number of each person in the photo. All right, let's try one. Let's get out of this and we're going to go to FamilySearch. Now it's important, of course, to know who, if you've got a picture, as I have here, of Hannah Tavener, it's important to know how to find her in FamilySearch. So one of the first steps you want to do before you actually go to add her photograph is to find her here. And in order to save time in this class, I've already done that for us. So I'm going to go to Find by ID Number and put in the ID number. I'm going to need her name and ID number not only to find her person page, but also so when I identify the photograph, I can get it exactly the way it is in FamilySearch. Here's Hannah Tavener, the wife of Octavius Lang Hicks. I'll go to her person page. Maybe we'll go to her person page. There we are. Now if you notice on the person page, it doesn't have a photograph. This is where the cameo portrait will go. And it doesn't have any memories that people have added to her at all. That makes perfect sense because I just added her to the database yesterday. I'm going to try to convince you that it's easy and quick to add photographs to FamilySearch tonight, but I want to tell you that I spent 7 hours on this woman in the last 24 hours. Because not only did I find a photograph of her in Ancestry, but I found her entire extended family with hundreds of gorgeous photographs. So not only is this an ideal thing to do to find photographs of your people, but it also leads you to discover relatives that you didn't know about. All right, so let's say that we want to add a cameo portrait of this lady. I'm going to go to Memories. I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to go back to our PowerPoint slides and walk you through the process, and then we'll try it once more. We go to Memories. I'm in her person page. I go to Photos and see the button that says Upload Photo. If this one doesn't work tonight for some reason, and occasionally they're changing something and it doesn't work for you, I just want you to know that you can also add the photograph a separate way to your computer, to FamilySearch using your computer, and select from a thing they call the gallery, which is like a photo album of all the photos that you have added to FamilySearch. Tonight everything should be working fine, and I'm going to simply upload a photo. So I click that upload button. Now I'm looking at my computer and it's asking me, okay Carol, where'd you put this photograph? That's why it's important to know this. Here's Hannah. I'm going to click the photograph to select it, and I'm going to click the open button. With just that information, FamilySearch is opening the photograph and adding it to FamilySearch. It's got this uploading ribbon across the front of her face, which means her picture has not yet completely uploaded. And notice too, it's got this red exclamation mark here, which tells me it's not actually linked to her yet. That terminology will make a little more sense to you in a minute. I'm going to ignore the uploading message and just click somewhere else in the photograph itself. And that's going to take me to what I consider to be the photo identification or editing screen. I just want to show you briefly what this looks like and explain what it's used for. Here we're going to add a title to the photograph. In my photo album, I have probably 300 photographs, and for each photograph it says at the bottom what the name of that person is. That helps me when I'm trying to go to that person page. I can go to it from the photographs. I also want to be able to put that here so that there will be no misunderstanding if I inadvertently connect this photograph to the wrong person. Here I can add a description. This is where I'm going to add that message about where I got the photograph. And if I know the approximate date and location or event when it occurred, I can put that here too. There's not much sense in putting a detailed message about the people from left to right in the top row here, because we're going to be able to circle each face and link it to the person page of that person. But one thing you might want to consider is that you can also use this as a way to capture the vital records that you possess in your family. For example, a marriage record or a death record. You can capture it as a photograph if you wish, and here you can extract that record so that people who see a small image of it will not have to struggle to see exactly what it says. I have done that in several occasions. That works great. We're also going to be able to put a circle around her face that will create the cameo portrait that we want on her person page, and we will tell the computer the face that I have circled is Hannah Tavener. Let's minimize this and come back to this in only a moment. So we add a digital photo from the person page by having the scanned photo on our computer, a flash drive or a CD inserted in the computer. We go to the person page and write down the person's ID number. Near the top of the person page, we click the Memories tab under the person's name. We click the Upload Photo button or select from Gallery. We disregard a screening message or a loading message. Right-click the photo once. If selecting from Gallery, we then click the photo, then the blue Attach Photo button. We've done all that. Now we get to add a title and description to the photo. From the photo identification screen we were just looking at, and we'll go back to that in only a minute, above the photo we saw the words, add a title. We're going to add a brief title. I'm suggesting these examples. If it's a husband and wife, this would be her maiden name. If it's a wife who has married, her husband is not in the photograph, we're recording both of her names. This is not going to change the name that's shown on her person page. It's exclusively for this photograph. The family of Octavius Lang Hicks could be a large group. A gravestone photograph for Hannah Tavener. When we're finished with the words add a title, we'll click the Save button. It's important to save things in that photo identification screen or they can be lost. To the right of the photo, we see the added description cell. This can be as detailed as you wish. As I've indicated, if possible, you'll probably want to include the date, location, and source of your photo, and click Add Description. Let's try it. So this is Hannah Tavener. Here's the Add Title button. We're going to add a title for her, which is Hannah Tavener. Remember, that's the one we're going to keep fairly simple. Click the blue Save button. Then we go to the description place, and this is where we're going to acknowledge when it occurred and where, if we know that, and how we got the photograph. So we're going to say 1887, Toronto, Canada. Photo offered and identified by the person's username in Ancestry, Weston Hicks 1, on 27 September 2009 through the Hicks family tree in Ancestry.com, which is extensive and offers many historic photos. Thank you. It's very unlikely that the person who added this photograph to Ancestry will see this particular photograph, but if they ever do, I want them to understand that I am appreciative and that I am helping them to promote access to their tree and all the hard work they've done there. Just as we did over here where we had to click the Save button, we have to add the description, so we'll click that. Okay. Now in our next step, we're going to identify who this lady is. So let's go back. Now we're going to frame a face in the picture. This is my dad. And identify the person in the photo. We're going to frame the face of one person by right-clicking once within the photo, resizing the white circle to frame the face by clicking and holding a white square outside the borders of the white circle. I know some of you are wondering, whoa, what did that just say? Let me show you and it will make more sense. Then we're going to identify the person, whether this is the first photo for that person or another photo for that person. We have different processes. We're going to find and click in the white "Who is this?" rectangle and type the person's name exactly as it is written on the person page in FamilySearch. This is not the place to be creative about the person's name. Let's try it. Looks like I didn't minimize that and I should have. Okay, here we are back in Hannah again. Hannah married her husband who had immigrated from Scotland in 1874, became a very wealthy woman, and raised about 10 kids there before she died. What I've just done there is to create the circle, and I did that while I was talking, so it might not have been clear to you what I was doing. Let's try it again, and I'll be a little more specific. I clicked in the photograph. This gives me a circle that, of course, is not the right size for the picture, and in order to make it larger, I simply click and hold any of the white squares, and I can make it as large as the width of the photo. And Michael McKinnon shared with us in a previous class that if he needs the circle to be bigger than the photo, he actually scans it over a piece of paper and crops it so that the piece of paper is part of the photograph. And that will permit FamilySearch to be tricked into believing the photograph is actually wider than it is. So sometimes if you've got a person in a group photograph and they happen to be at the edge, in order to keep the circle right next to the edge of the photograph, you're cutting off half of their face or something. That is one way to solve that issue. So we'll make this circle about the right size. I'd like to get in that nice pin she apparently loved. It already says Hannah Tavener. How does it know that? It knows that because that's the person page I started with. So all I have to do is say save. Now let's go back to her person page. Go up here to the top to Hannah Tavener with her ID number. And she's now got a cameo portrait. A cameo portrait happens automatically from the first photograph you add to a person. Maybe later you add another picture to that person and you say, "Ooh, I like that one better. I wish I'd used that one for the cameo portrait." I'm going to show you later in this class how we change the cameo portrait, but I just wanted you to see that much of this process. I'm going to minimize that darn thing. It's annoying. From the current slide. We're going to go through a couple of, actually several photographs tonight. I just want you to get an overview of the process, and then we're going to rehearse it a couple of times to make you more comfortable with it. Now let's assume that we wanted to tag another person in the photo to their person page. No, before we do this, let's go back and do one more photograph of an individual. I think that it would be a little confusing for you if I tried to do too much too fast. I've got her husband's picture. So let's go to her husband. We'll go, now notice that right now we're in the Memories tab folder on her person page, next to the Ordinances tab folder and the Details tab folder. File folder label, and Details is what we're used to seeing, where it's got the family relationships and everything. I've got a photo of her husband, this man, which I have already added to his person page. I didn't realize I had done that. That's unfortunate. Let's go to his person page. And we'll go to Memories. Let's upload another photograph. This will not be his picture, so I'll be erasing it, but it will give us a chance to practice. Let's see, let's choose this one. This happens to be a wedding portrait. I'm clicking in the photograph itself to take us to the photo identification page. Let's say that this is a young picture of Octavius. I would add a title. What's his name? Hicks. That's not a very good title. I'm just doing it so that I'll have something to show you how you would put one in. I put in a description and click the Add Description button, which saves it. Now I get to identify Octavius in this picture. I click anywhere in the photograph, but if other people have already been identified and I click within their circle, FamilySearch is a little confused by that. So when you've already clicked somebody else's circle, it would be a good idea to start your circle way outside of the faces of the people you've already identified. Then to move the circle, you simply hold it someplace in the circle as opposed to on one of the little square boxes. Position it about where you want it and frame the face using the boxes. And it's saying, is this also Octavius Lang Hicks? Because I have already added a picture to him, it's saying, is this also him? And if I say yes, it didn't add anything over here. Did you see that? It didn't add anything over here. Let's go back to his person page. One way to do that is to click here and go to his memories section on his person page. Now he's got two photographs. He's got this one and he's got this one. Let's say that I wanted to change this cameo portrait because I liked this young picture better than this more mature picture. I would simply click in this cell. Says select your preferred portrait. I will click his young picture. Notice it says allow a few minutes for your change to take place. I'm not going to wait a few minutes. Instead, I'm going to right-click my mouse button and ask FamilySearch to go back and refresh this person page. And then it automatically changed it for me. Pretty slick, huh? Now what happens if I now decide, oh, this isn't really him? It could be. It's got the nice mustache and the long, thin face and stuff, but it's not. Let's see what we want to do if we want to remove a picture from this man's page, but not remove it from FamilySearch because I want to attach it to someone else. I will once again click the photograph. I will click here. And remove the tag. That made the tag for both of those men go away. But this photograph still is in FamilySearch, and I can attach it to someone else. Let's go back to Octavius again. The easiest way to do that is to go to Family Tree, Person, see if it's going to take me to Octavius or if it's going to take me to myself. No, it took me to Octavius. Okay. We'll click on Memories. He's still got his photograph here, but it doesn't know what to do about his cameo portrait. Let's click the cameo portrait. Click the one we want. We're not going to wait. We're going to refresh. And we're back in business. Go to his details page so we see his family relationships. Let's see if his wife has a picture. There's the picture we added of Hannah. Whoops, moved it. There's the picture we added of Hannah. You can literally have pictures of all your relatives revealed on every person page on which they occur through this process. All right. What if it's a picture that has more than one person in it? Well, it's just as easy as what we've just done, except you do the same thing for each person in the picture. This is my dad with his stepmother and father and stepbrother. It is very important, though, to know the name as entered in Family Tree and the person ID number for each person in the photograph. Because even though in the last situation we started on a person page, we're still going to start on a person page when we add a group photograph, but then we're going to have to be able to attach that photograph to the person pages of the other people in the photograph, which means we need to know their names and person ID numbers. Okay, so let's start with a new photograph that has more than one person in it. Let's go up here. Let's go to a new person who doesn't have a picture yet, I hope. Find. find by ID number, KCZ9BMC. Find Marguerite Estella Johnson. This is a person who is related to my mother and is in her family tree. We have never known who her husband was. In fact, we didn't know for sure that she had married, although she was 50 years old when she died. We didn't know who her husband was. We didn't know if she ever had any children. This photograph found those for us. We're going to go to Memories. We're going to upload a photograph from the desktop on this computer, which is a very handy way to store your photographs. Maggie Estella. So that you can find them quickly. It doesn't, of course, you don't want your whole desktop to be cluttered with 900 photographs. So if you're dealing with that kind of volume, you'll undoubtedly want to store them in your photo album under different family names and have a filing system of some kind. But if you're just in the process of looking at Ancestry or looking at Heritage Quest or something and you find historic photographs that you recognize as some of your people, it might be nice for you to just be able to save that electronic photo to your desktop on your computer and load it immediately into FamilySearch instead of also keeping a copy of it in your historic photographs folder. So I'm showing you that method now. Well, this is saying it's already been added to my tree. I just haven't loaded it. Aha. So it won't add it again. So what do I have to do then? I have already put it in the tree, which was not a good idea. I shouldn't have done that. Well, this is the one that we were looking at before. Huh. This is the girl that we didn't know she had married, and this is her husband. And the tree in Ancestry where I found this photograph identified the husband. And then after identifying the husband, I was able to search again for him and her together and find their children and his parents as well. So we've got the photograph loaded. This is not the title I want to use. I want to edit that title. Instead, I want to say Augustus G and Margaret E. Johnson Otto, where Johnson is her maiden name and Otto is their married name. Once again, this does not change the name of either of those people in the database. It's just a title attached to my photograph. I'm going to create a real description now, which is 24 October 1894, Rock Island County, Illinois. That's where they were married. Photo shared and identified by C.W. Baker 1 in Ancestry.com on 17 August 2012. Ideally, I would also have the name of his tree. I don't have that. Magic words. Thank you. Add, save your description. Now, FamilySearch doesn't really know what to do with this one. We started from her person page, so it's ready to go with her first. Let's click someplace in the photograph to get a circle, and we'll try to get some of that luscious lace around her collar. She probably made the dress herself. I always admired the dresses these women wore. They were so often black, but many times they were truly luscious. Who is this? This is Marguerite Estella. Do you see how it's pulling up a list of possible people? These are people in my tree whose name looks close to Marguerite, and finally it's asking me, is this by any chance Marguerite Estella Johnson? If I click this one, it would be because that was the first photograph that had ever been added to her page. And I honestly don't know why it's asking me if this is the same person, because that could imply that someone else has added a photograph to her. I'm going to say add new because I believe this is the first photograph that's ever been added for her. Notice that when I do that, it says not attached to the tree. We're going to manually attach it to her person page. I'm going to do that before I identify him. Let's start with her. Let's attach, what we're doing is attaching that photograph to her person page, attached to her family tree. I have two options to do that. This is the long way. This is to search for her name and try to pick her out on a list. That's why I advocate recording her person ID number on a sheet of paper and putting it in directly from the ID number, KCZ9BMC. Press the select button. FamilySearch is going out and looking for her. Ignore this. That doesn't mean anything, and it's a little misleading because you think, oh my gosh, I've got it attached to a man. Nope. This is what you're interested in seeing. Do I have it attached to the right person? You want to be sure and look at this, or you may end up having your photograph attached to someone else's relative and getting kind of a snarly little note like I did one time that said, did you know that you got your picture attached to my relative? Would you please get it off there? I can't do anything with it. That's exactly right. If they don't add the picture to him, they can't take it off. I'm the only one who can remove it. So yes, it's the right person. I'm going to attach it. Now what are we going to do for her husband? How come it did that? There we go. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to create a circle, kind of a dashing young man, don't you think? Hope he was as nice as he was handsome. What is his name? His name is Augustus George Otto. He's never had a portrait put in FamilySearch before, so it's asking us, when it says add new, it really means add a first photo to this person page. This wording is a little confusing, and I want to try to make that clear to you. It really means this is the first picture that I know of that's ever been added to his person page. Add new, which creates him over here. Once again, I've got the little warning sign, not attached to the tree. That means the photograph is in my photo album, but it's not yet attached to his person page. I'm going to click on that and press Attach to Family Tree. Once again, I need his ID number, which is K8QRWFY. Select. Oops. I wrote down his ID number wrong. So we're going to have to cancel that and go back and look for him. His name was Augustus George, skip to the last name cell, Otto, who had a spouse named Marguerite Estella Johnson. See how much more time consuming it is if you don't have that ID number written down or written down correctly, as I just didn't? FamilySearch is searching and searching. Yes, they have now found him. I can select him. It's going to take me back to the photo ID page. It's supposed to take me back to the photo ID page. I have no idea why it brought me there. Let's go to his person page. That's telling me how wonderful it is to add memories to a person page. They are absolutely right about that, but their message is a little bit untimely. Let's go to, here's Marguerite. Let's see if the picture, oh wait, we just created a beautiful little cameo portrait for her. Did you see that as it flashed by? There it is. And does she also have the full picture of their marriage? Let's look here. Yes, it's actually taking the cameo portrait from her wedding photo. Let's go back to her detailed information. See that her husband now also has a picture. Go to his person page. Look in memories and see that he also has the full wedding portrait as well as his cameo portrait. That's pretty slick, don't you think? I do too. I think it's a really nice system. Okay. So we have now tagged another person in a photo and added it. The only thing you have to remember is you can't do what I used to do when I started, which caused all kinds of problems. I would create the circles, identify the person, create the circle, identify the person, create the person, and then I would go back and try to tag them to the person pages, and FamilySearch just fell apart on me. That was too much for its little bitty brain. So what you want to do is just do it one person at a time, and you'll be very successful, I promise. Let's enlarge this. Okay, so the next question is, what can go wrong in this process? I always wake up in the middle of the night with these swell ideas that I never implement, but this one I'm going to implement. I always have a dream that someday I'm going to teach classes and the whole concept is going to be, so what can go wrong in this process? It's usually having to do with sewing something, but in this case it's going to be about photographs. So what can go wrong when you're adding photographs to FamilySearch? One is the white frame ends up being in the wrong place. I don't see this happening recently, but for a while there, you would have that frame, that face frame just perfectly, and then you one whole side of his face, and you'd think, what the heck happened there? That was happening automatically in the database occasionally and infrequently, but when it did, you had to know how to fix it. Another thing is something we've already practiced, how to change a cameo portrait, because you've added a new photograph, you've discovered somebody else's photograph that you like better than yours, and you say, ooh, that's the one I want to make as his cameo portrait. Or you want to remove a duplicate link to a person page from the photo. Okay, let's see if we can figure out how to discover what to do. Let's see, let's go to my father. I like to play with my father. He had a good sense of humor. I'll go to Dad. I'll go to me. Then I'll go to Dad. Maybe. Oh, that didn't work. Yep, thank you very much. We need to be in the details section. You're absolutely right. Okay, here's Dad. Here's his memories tab, which, has somebody else's picture in it. And this is how I remember my dad. Not these slick little photographs like when he was in the Army and stuff. This is how I remember my dad. He was a cowboy in Hermiston, Oregon. And that's the one I want on his cameo photograph. So what am I going to do? How do I change a cameo portrait? You can click on the cameo. It's going to give me my choices. I click on the one I want to use. This one, please. Close the message. I'm going to speed it up by right-clicking somewhere in the screen and clicking this little refresh button to send my person page back to FamilySearch and have it bounce back to me updated. Mom will have a cow because she doesn't like this photograph nearly as well as I do, so we fight over this from time to time. There's the dad I remember. Okay, now let's figure out what to do about this guy. This is a different person. I undoubtedly put on here during a class or something and just never went back and fixed. In order to take him off of Dad's page, we need to click in the photograph somewhere, which will take us to the photo identification screen. It's still identified correctly. It's still linked to him on his person page, but it's also linked to my dad. and I'm going to remove the tag from my dad, which will remove the photograph from Dad's page and leave it only attached to Jonathan Fee Paquette. Something I don't like about the way this is described, this is actually being displayed. Although this is not the same photograph as this one is, this is a much better copy of the portrait. Notice this one is framed better than this one is. When I display that white cell, see how it's lopsided? I don't like that. Let's also edit that tag and move it so it's the right place. Save. Okay, that looks a little bit nicer. Now let's come down here and remove this photograph from my dad's person page where it does not belong. That's all it took to do that. Now we'll go back to Harry J. Hansen, that's my dad's page, and see if he's still got that photograph attached in his gallery of memories. Ta-da! That was pretty easy, wasn't it? You'll notice that we've got his birth certificate, his marriage license and certificate, and his death certificate all also added as photos. But you can also see that it's possible to upload them as documents if you prefer to do it that way. I know Michael McKinnon, for example, likes to do it that way and tells me that then he can indicate in the document the name of the person he's attaching that document to, which is pretty slick. And this is where we add stories for a person. We're getting almost to the point of being able to do that next. Let's go back here, go to our PowerPoint. Okay, we have adjusted a white frame around the person's face. We have changed a cameo portrait, and we have removed a duplicate link. That's really the only thing that can go wrong in this process, and we know how to fix it. And on this slide in your handout, I'm telling you how to add a photograph when adding a picture through the person page isn't working. Occasionally, when they're in the process of updating that or something, you can't add it that way. And I just want you to know there's a back door that used to be the front door that made it possible for us to add pictures. I'd simply like to take you there and show you that. I'm not going to belabor it, but I'd like you to know that it exists. Have you noticed that up here where you always click Family Tree, or you always click the temple and look at things, or maybe if you're indexing, you click here. Did you notice that there's a button here called Memories? If you go to Gallery, it's got the pictures that you've uploaded for your family with the little short descriptions that we type on them each time we add a description. You can actually go to that person's page just by clicking on that photograph if you're interested in doing that. And you can add a photo from this button right here using the process on that slide that's next in your handout if you wish to do so. I actually used to like that very much. I was surprised when they went to the person page, but having done it, I realized that that is darn nice. All right, now we get to talk about adding stories to a person page. Stories are very versatile. A story is a place where you can not only tell the story about your step-grandmother's fiery temper and how she threatened her husband with a butcher knife because she came home one night and found that he'd filled the house full of furniture she had to pay for, but also where you can record family lore in your family. If you've got stories that are passed down in your family about your great-grandfather who floated down the Ohio River with two of his brothers and stopped in Cincinnati long enough to build the first stick house, kept the hammer which was given down to descendants, crossed the river into Switzerland County, Indiana, settled there and had 10 kids, like we do, and have never been able to verify. At least you can preserve that family lore in a story, and it may turn out that a future researcher will discover the key facts they need to be able to verify or augment that story so that it is more correct. For example, in my mother's case, she had a family story that was passed down by her father, that his great-grandfather was the oldest child of a family of about 9 kids who survived the sinking of their wagon when it was crossing a frozen river. They literally, the oldest kids were staying with relatives. They had the baby with them. They tossed her out. She landed on an ice floe and was saved. All the kids became orphans. They were adopted by somebody or other, nobody knew for sure who, and survived. Well, there was a wonderful story. We were all mesmerized by it, and we documented it in one of these stories on FamilySearch. And then I thought, you know, it'd sure be nice to find out whatever happened to those kids. And we did, in fact, track down the facts, realize what river it was, document the fact that all the kids were adopted by her sister, by the mother's sister, and raised by them in their home. Some of the kids took their name, and we never would have realized that they were the kids of our family had we not had this piece of family lore to fall back on. So, capturing your family lore, the stories that your grandparents or your parents have told you and that have come down through history, may have gotten tweaked a little bit, may not be 100% correct, but have a nugget of truth that might be useful to genealogists someday, are worth preserving in family stories. One of the critical things to remember about family stories is that you don't want to say anything in a family story that this person would object to if they were standing right behind you when you typed it, because you don't want to leave bad memories about your family. Those will be something that this person and the Lord will reconcile when it's their turn to go through the judgment. It's not up to us to bring judgment down on people or to preserve bad things about their lives any more than we would want the bad things about our lives preserved in family stories for everybody to read. So funny things, comical things, touching things, things that reflect their character or their personalities or their interests are wonderful candidates for family stories. How do we add one? This slide tells you all it takes to do that. Let's go practice it. Let's go to this man's page. We're in his gallery. No, we're not. Where are we? Oh, we have to come over here, I guess, to go to his person page. Go to his memories. We're not there yet. This is his picture with his formal title. We have to go here. I never quite understood why they did it that way. Why can't I just click this? No, I have to click this one beneath it to go to his person page. There is a researcher in Canada, in Toronto, Canada, who's going to have a very Merry Christmas when she discovers all the work I did for her in the last 7 hours on this person. Because she had been struggling, obviously, for a long, long time trying to put those families together. And she had partial names, she had estimated dates and locations, she didn't know marriages, she didn't know kids, she missed some of the kids, she missed all the babies that died. And all of that is now in FamilySearch waiting for her. We talk about lighting a candle for the world during this holiday season, and in my opinion, there's no better way than to help another researcher discover resources they might not have ever found through our generosity, and just leaving it there for them to find and go, oh, look what's happened, and never know. That empowers me. Okay, so this is where we're talking about for a life sketch. We're not quite there yet, but we're going to do that also while we're on this page. Notice that I didn't use it for a life sketch. I said, see the Hicks Tavener family tree in Ancestry.com for many historic photos of this man, his ancestors, siblings, and family. This is a way to tell the world, hey, there's a resource you might want to know about if you're interested in researching this family. It's a good place to put a title and publisher of a book, or to tell the people that they can contact you, or that they can see your personal tree on Ancestry.com for extensive information about this family or something. It's also a place for you to leave messages for other researchers. For example, I go to somebody else's person page and I find that the whole family has been sealed together for eternity, and that 2 of the kids apparently can't be members of that family. They were born in a whole different location than this family lived in. Well, I don't want to rip them out of that family and disconnect them when the ordinances have already been completed. So what I might do instead, at the top of the page where they're most likely to see it if they come to this tree, into this person page, is to put a note. Notice to other researchers, 2 of the children, such and such and such and such, apparently do not belong to this family. No sources are provided as evidence that they were members of these parents. Will you please share your sources so we can verify that they're here? Otherwise, they should be disconnected, and we should attempt to find their correct parents. This is a very multi-purpose thing, this life sketch thing. I want to talk more about that in a minute. Let's come over here. Let's go to the Memories tab one more time. Here's the Photos place and the Documents place, which we have talked about. Notice below it is the Stories place. Let's create a story about this man. They give us a little warning sign. Be aware that anybody can read anything in this database. You don't want to put anything on here that's going to be embarrassing to your family or the people who are involved in it. We can upload a photograph to our story, or we can select one that we've already added to this person page. Let's first make a great big title. Merry Christmas from Washington State, 2016. For about half of the past 24 hours, I have had the pleasure of discovering and sharing information I found in several family trees in Ancestry.com with the Ontario, Canada researchers who have been laboring diligently to discover and preserve family relationships of, what's our guy's name again? Oh, I've got to look up on my card. Yeah, Octavius Lang Hicks. And his ancestors, siblings, and descendants. Here's a hand of friendship across our 2 nations from a fellow researcher in South Central Washington State, USA, period. Save. Now that's a very atypical story, but if you've done a lot of research for someone and you just want to leave a message to show how much you enjoyed doing it for them and what a pleasure it was to help them in their research, that's one way you can handle it. Now let's go to my first mother-in-law and add a little life sketch for her. We don't go to Memories for this. We go to the person page itself and to the top of it where the life sketch is, and we say, I first met Catherine, Patricia, Patty, Rachel when I was 17. I met and married her son in, let me see, that's not quite right. I met her son when he was a 19-year-old construction worker building a water tank in Ephrata, Washington. We married in Salt Lake City 2 weeks later. And for the following 3 years, I lived and traveled with Patty and her family over 11 Western states. She was a kind, thoughtful, generous, hardworking woman who loved to embroider by the hour and to watch soap operas. I miss her. I should say, I got to see her a few months before her death and thank her for raising my son for me following my divorce from his father. In thanks, I have completed as much of her family history research as my resources will permit. Carol Devine. Save. Been meaning to do that for a long time. Here's my excuse. Now, I have typed it in just a few minutes, so I got away with that. But if I was going to write an extensive life sketch about this person, FamilySearch is likely to time me out. You know how FamilySearch will shut down after about 15 minutes and make you go back and put your password in again? When you're entering a life sketch and it does that, it deletes the life sketch you've been working on. We learned that the hard way. My mother is a diligent writer and a relatively slow typist as a result of her arthritis, and she would labor for 2 hours on a life sketch and lose the whole thing until we learned this tip, so I'd like to share it with you. When you know that you're going to be working on a lengthy life sketch, you have 2 suggested choices. One is create a paragraph of it, save it, go back in editing mode, and write to your heart's content, because once it's been saved once, you'll never lose it. Or create it in a word processing software program of your choice and copy and paste it into this life sketch as virtually a finished project. You can then go back in and edit it to your heart's content. The only challenge with being in editing mode is that, you only get to see this much of it, and that can be a little tricky if you've got 3 pages of a life sketch. My mother likes to put in historic events and family tragedies that occur during a person's life, and innovations, and the zipper was developed during this person's lifetime. She saw this and she saw this and they lived this. She likes to go into a great deal of detail because she's afraid that her memories will be lost. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just be aware that if you're going to go into that much detail, you need to get that thing started in here, save it, and then come back and edit it. And then you can work on it